Bob Odell with Root Source here, and so pleased to be interviewing Sharon Sanders, co-founder of Christian Friends of Israel. In our last segment, you told us a little bit about how you came to Israel and what it's like to have been here and been working in Israel over the last 31, say 32 years almost. So I'd like to ask you now, what is that thing, or is there one main thing that burns within you, in your heart, that carries you and drives you today in 2017?
Well, first of all, Bob, I would say that even though I've been here 30 years, I feel like we've just arrived.
Wow.
I feel no different.
Really?
I am so excited about being here. I mean, Jerusalem, I breathe it with every breath. And I hope that I will never stop until the Lord takes me home. So the excitement is always there every day, waking up. I was blessed for 18 years to be able to learn from and sit under an Orthodox Rabbi who worked with our ministry. His name was Yaakov Yulis.
Okay.
Wonderful man. He was like a father to me. And he was the one who knocked on the door and said, Christians, Friends of Israel, we didn't know we had any. He loved us so much. He sat with my husband and they would study the Torah together. And then one day he said, there's so many questions I'd like to ask. I've never been able to ask you. And you can ask me. So we became lifelong friends. It was at that time that I began to learn how to think Jewish. I think Christian because I was born and raised a Christian and still am, but I can think from both sides now.
Yes.
What each one is thinking about each other.
Yes.
And I hope to use the experience that I have, because most Christians, they have a visa and they're here 3 years, 2 years, maybe 5 at the most. They have got to leave. They're asked to leave. God put us here supernaturally, permanently. And so what I've learned, it's burning in my soul. The last words before Rabbi Yulis died, he said, Sharon, I want you to educate, educate, educate. 3 times he said it.
Wow.
And I've come to know why. I traveled the world. Ray and I traveled to 55 countries many times. And when I would go to the churches, Bob, I would say to them, brothers and sisters, what God do we serve? And nobody could tell me. And I said, a Jewish man said to me, what God do you serve? I was shocked. I said, well, of course, the God of Israel, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He said, well, I hear the Christians singing to God. They say they pray to God. Mm-hmm. And they worship God. Uh-huh. But there's many gods in the world. What God do you serve? And I said, again, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I couldn't get any Christians wherever I was teaching to answer. They didn't know.
You mean you would ask them...
what God do we serve? What God do we worship, brothers and sisters?
And they would say the Father or the Son or...
Yes, maybe someone would say the God of love, the God of compassion. And I would say, yes, of course. Good answer. But he identifies himself in his word as the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Very seldom would I even get an answer.
I mean, it's really unfathomable to consider the idea that God would take a name after 3 human beings. Really. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, that's...
Right.
It's amazing that God would lower himself in a way. But so what a tremendous name. I mean, there's many names. He has many names. What a tremendous name.
I think it just shows how much he loved them. He honored them because Abraham passed his faith on to his son, and then Isaac passed it on to Jacob, and then on. And yes, that's the way he identifies himself, even in the New Testament. And so I found that we were woefully, woefully ignorant, not knowledgeable about our past, about our relationship with Israel, about our responsibility to Israel as Christians. And my heart burns to be used by everybody who can. If they want, they can call me, and I will be there to teach. Because it's unique. I can pretty much answer all of the questions, so far anyway, that both Christians and Jews do ask me. And so I would love to see a big teaching center here right in the heart of Jerusalem that's sponsored by Christians, and to be a part of that, because I don't think there's anything more important. Look, I ask Christians, do you believe in the second coming of Christ? Well, of course Christians believe that. We're waiting for him to come. And I say, you can't have it without Jerusalem.
Okay.
Without Israel being home.
Right.
Because he's coming back to Jerusalem.
Right.
That's his promise. And it won't be an Islamic flag flying over Jerusalem. It's going to be a Jewish flag flying over Jerusalem. And I say that if you want to learn more about that, come to Israel and see Israel. Visit Jerusalem. See what's happening. Jerusalem is beginning to reveal herself to the archaeologists here in this city.
Yes.
How? As they uncover all the dust and look under the rocks from the destruction of the temple, they're beginning to see what she originally looked like. She's beginning to reveal herself as she was, and they're building on that and that hope. Of course, the Jewish people, that the temple will be rebuilt. And we see her putting on her garments of glory, as the book of Isaiah says. She's putting on new clothes. She put on her cosmetic look. They're building, construction, renovating. It's just beautiful. Everybody must come to see Jerusalem because it has to do with the coming of the Lord.
Yeah.
For the Jewish people, maybe they will say, for us, we would say it's Jesus returning. Maybe they might say, have you been here before?
Yeah.
But either way, Messiah is coming.
That's right. That's right.
And Jerusalem is getting ready.
That's right. That's right. Oh boy. Just to think ahead to what God is still to do in this city.
Yes.
Is there something that you're longing for? And of course you're longing for Messiah to return. Mm-hmm. Is there something regarding Jerusalem as it's revealing its glory? Is there an aspect of Jerusalem that you're hoping will be revealed?
Well, there's two things that I pray for. One for the church and one for Israel.
Okay.
For the church, I pray for a reformation. I believe that the church needs a reformation as never before, to take a look at her Hebraic foundations,
yes,
her Jewish roots,
yes,
just like you are teaching people on your program, to begin to think about their roots. What are we built on? Our roots don't come from Islam. They don't come from Buddhism. They don't come from Hinduism. They come from Israel, deep in the soil.
Yes. Yes.
So my prayer is that she will come into her fullness. I believe that once she grasps a hold of the true strength that lies in knowing the tree that she came from,
yes,
that the fullness will come to us and we'll experience blessing as never before.
Wow. Before you go to Israel, I just have to respond to something about that for the church. This year, 50th anniversary of Jerusalem, 100th anniversary of the Balfour Declaration,
yes.
and 500th anniversary of the Protestant Reformation. Wouldn't this be the perfect year for this church to turn,
yes,
to reform,
yes,
to change its mind about its Jewish roots?
Well, I believe those who are looking for the kingdom to come. And, Christians have for centuries prayed the Lord's Prayer, thy kingdom come.
Yes.
Thy will be done on earth There's going to be 1,000-year reign here of the Messiah.
Yes.
But we don't often think about that when we say it and recite it like a creed or a prayer, in our churches. But if they will get a hold of that and realize that the kingdom is very, very important and they need to be a part of it, they'll join. Because I believe that in the coming kingdom there will be absolutely no anti-Semitism.
This is exactly a point I want to touch on in our next segment. So let's put a comma there. But I interrupted you, and you were going to say something that you hope Christians would see revealed in Jerusalem, and something for the Jews as well.
Yes.
So what is that piece for the Jews?
I pray that Israel, they have excelled in technology. They've excelled in science. They've excelled in new startup programs all over the place.
Right.
They're excelling in military warfare. They're excelling in just about every field you can imagine.
Right.
Medical and science. I hope that they'll begin to raise the flag and carry the spiritual leadership that they are supposed to carry too. So that we can also look to Jerusalem as the eternal capital that she is meant to be.
Yes.
The Jews, and we'll be right there along with them, to show the world that the Torah and the Tanakh is a living word, not the Old Testament. As our friend recently had an article in the paper, stop calling it the Old Testament, it's a living Torah. And that the Christians would see that, and that the Jewish people would take their rightful place and know their identity, so that we can go forward in the future with Messiah.
Wow. Well, that's wonderful, and I suppose that's what Root Source is all about.
Exactly.
You know what? I didn't have any part in that. This was Godon's vision for Root Source, and the Lord just brought me alongside and said, "Hey, go support him. Go help make his vision happen." And so, really, I'm just put on for the ride here, but it's fun. It's fun to be part of it.
Oh, you are in a very prophetic work, and you must keep rolling right down the road with it. I remember when Gideon had all this bubbling within him, and he would come and sit down with me in my office and say, look, I want to reach Christians, but I don't want to insult them. I don't want to offend them. Can I say this? Can I say that? I want to be able to teach from a way where they'll accept what we're sharing. And we shared a lot of things during those days. So I think Root Source is just absolutely right on with the move of the Holy Spirit. And we just need more Christians to tune in and listen, so they can learn and educate themselves.
Well done. Well, when we come back, I want to ask Sharon about this idea of the kingdom. So we look forward to your return, and until that time, this is Bob Odell with Root Source saying goodbye and shalom.